welcome to Prudence Rehab, our latest Insight Series guests. So you guys are among a series that we're doing regarding the Mitolo case study, which is so exciting. And, it's a really great case study of how safety tech went from a customer problem through to the solution with so many different parties involved. So today we're going to talk about your involvement. It's a great story. So first of all, could Renee, maybe you could introduce yourself and tell us about Prudence Rehab, please?
Absolutely. Thanks, Helen. I'm Renee, one of the directors with Prudence Rehab. I oversee our commercial function of the business, so with a real focus on strategy and partnerships. A little bit about Prudence Rehab. We're an Australian-based workplace rehabilitation and health management provider. We partner with organisations of all sizes, but predominantly at the larger end of town, both domestic and multinational, triaging and managing both physical and psychological risk for these organisations. So we kind of operate at the entire employee life cycle. So that covers services from pre-employment medicals through to onboarding, injury prevention and coaching programs, and then within the compensable schemes across the various across the country, managing rehabilitation for these businesses. We've been in operation for over 10 years now. We started off historically as a rehab provider, so managing claims for employees that had sustained a workplace injury, and through time and with maturity and scale, both in knowledge and expertise, we're now partnering with partners or organisations within the injury prevention side of things. So probably the perfect segue to introduce Rod as our head of injury prevention and also our IntelliCoach program.
Yeah, thanks Renee for that. So my name's Rod, and thanks Helen for having us on today. As Renee said, I'm the head of our injury prevention team, and it's a newer role for Prudence Rehab, only around 2 years ago since I joined, and I think it was really born out of a great vision and shared vision between the Prudence team and myself, and really having an opportunity to build something that was proactive, and that was something that really resonated to me, being an exercise physiologist background, and working in both the clinical space and also in that compensable scheme as well previously. So really was happy to have that focus on preventing those injuries rather than just responding to them. And was really fortunate to help get that up and off the ground.
Right. Okay. So maybe, Rod, you could talk us through how you came across the problem. Obviously, injury prevention. So you working with the end user. So just fill us in on that story and how you kind of took this problem to mutual benefits.
Yeah, so I attended a provider innovation network that Mutual Benefits run yearly at the moment, and that's where they share a problem statement and invite providers like us to pitch their solutions. So that out of that was born the IntelliCoach and the opportunity to address some of those issues that they were having on a scalable and in a human-centered way as well. So, and I think looking at how our values align, it was natural that we could really, I think, provide a great outcome and opportunity for the mutual benefits team. We're both really deeply committed to proactive care, long-term well-being, and creating safer and more sustainable workplaces. And not just, I guess, ticking some of those compliance boxes that can happen within the industry at different times. So at Prudence, we really like to, I guess, treat workers like people and not just cases. So it made sense that we were able to build this program out to being a really centered person approach.
So mutual benefits put out a call that you had a problem statement, and you answered that problem statement. So was it specifically more musculoskeletal disorders, MSDs, that they were looking to prevent?
No, and that's probably the great thing about mutual benefits is they're looking for a wide range, everything from mental injuries right through to those musculoskeletal disorders. We just saw an opportunity to work within our wheelhouse and what we had in offer to provide a program like this to them at the time.
And were you specifically, because we'll talk a little bit more about IntelliCoach, but were you specifically looking at technology as an aid to solving this problem at the time, or did that come later in the process?
Yeah, so we were working really close at the time with Dane Cahan from Workplace Risk Technologies, and he was quite instrumental in my, I guess, onboarding with Prudence and working with them. When I came in, he'd had a long-standing relationship with Prudence at the time, and so I was able to spend a bit of time with him exploring the different opportunities that were available and on the market, and which was a really great opportunity for both me to learn, but also to work with someone with so much industry knowledge. And that was, I guess, something that really could, I guess, support our goals in that prevention space moving forwards through that. And one of those conversations that we had was around the Modjoul belt, which was at the forefront of the IntelliCoach program in this instance that we're talking about today. So it was a really great opportunity where we could, utilize that technology piece to, create that coaching through the data at the same time.
Mm-hmm. So tell us a bit more about your IntelliCoach program, because this isn't just about technology. There's a whole wraparound service. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so we really wanted it to be, I guess, more than just a standard program that you can pick up on the market, and we want it to be really a chance to have a mindset shift for participants within the program that we were doing. So traditionally, we find that injury prevention programs, as I mentioned before, are a bit about compliance, ticking the box on training sessions sometimes, one-off manual hazard workshops, for example, as a couple. And we really wanted to flip that with IntelliCoach, and we really use a behavioural coaching framework that uses technology to provide real-time feedback and that long-term coaching ability as well. So not just a one-off session necessarily, but spending, in this instance, 8 weeks on site, looking at data to really transform those participants at the time. We were also really lucky enough to, within using the Modjoul belt, to use motion capture software at the same time. So that really allows us to demonstrate visually with each participant their movement inefficiencies and risks in real time. So kind of, I guess, a bit of a game changer in that sense is that workers were able to see how they were moving and how they were feeling at the same time as we were providing them different data. So what was red was bad, what was yellow was okay as a movement, what was green is great, but then also getting that haptic feedback through the Modjoul belts is so helpful as that extra layer, and especially when we weren't on site and they were wearing them. So you've got that feedback straight away before we even need to think about, or they need to think about what they're doing next. And then by using that data, we can really track their progress as well over kind of that entire program. So whether it's an 8-week program, whether it's a 3-year program, if someone's staying on the team at the employer, then we can use that data the whole time through. So it really makes that coaching piece tangible and the learning, I guess, a bit more personal, rather than just kind of that necessarily maybe like a PowerPoint read through and then a bit of a demonstration in a big group. So with the IntelliCoach program, we were looking at 2 weeks of data collection. So purely no feedback to the participants, just collect that data observation only. And then that gave us that clean baseline of where to start with. And that also found, with the education piece to the participants, was able to help us build a little bit more trust as well through that time, so that they understood that we're going in there to get them in get their real life, real world workplace, not just, hey, we're collecting this data, we're not letting you know what's going on, but we're not letting you know what's going on because we want to get it in real time and not have you change because we're around and we're coaching in the meantime.
So I was just going to ask, Rod, could you tell us a little bit about the workplace, so how it was, tell us a little bit more about Mitolo, what they do, and what you found?
Yeah. So I guess Mitolo Farms, family farms, they're a produce packer and pack a lot of potatoes and onions and those sorts of things for the Australian public. Had a really great work health safety team, but they're managing 800 people across different sites. So not necessarily a lot of time to spend on site and with each individual person. So, and given it is such a physical based role, they were just finding at different times some injuries that go along with a picking and packing role and that physicality point of view. So people going home feeling a bit more tired and because they've had a hard, stressful day on their body at different times.
Yeah. So what kind of injuries were they? Well, are they? I suppose they're still having, but what was the problem there for them?
Yeah, I think that part of the problem statement was those lower back injuries and lower limb injuries that do come along with a lot of bending, twisting and squatting, which is really also part of what the Modjoul belt is able to offer us in kind of data output. So that's why we chose that piece of technology for this behavioural coaching program. And then also they were having some others around shoulder injuries from lifting and manual handling as well. It was really quite wide range, I guess, given the aspect, but the main points were around those lower back and lower limb injuries.
And so, from the technology perspective, you mentioned computer vision and the Modjoul belt. So, tell us a little bit about how that technology, what it was doing.
Yeah, so the Modjoul belts are great. They're kind of the smaller than the size of a phone. They sit where your belt buckle is, and they really, as I was mentioning before, they focus on bending, twisting, and squatting movements. And within the haptic feedback, they're trying to stop a risky bend movement, which is where we were looking at kind of someone with that forward flexion going past 60 degrees. And then throughout the program, we started to actually lower that from 60 degrees to 50 degrees as people kind of became used to the movement and became stronger and fitter within themselves at the same time. The motion capture software is really around that being able to show someone, film them, show them how they're moving, give them in real-time feedback, whether they're doing something correctly or incorrectly in terms of their movement and how much stress they're placing on their body at the same time as well.
Great. So along with your coaching, we've got this physical device, we're filming them, and you collect 2 weeks of data. So were there a lot of risky movements going on? Was it a high injury sites or multiple sites?
Surprisingly, for the kind of roles they were doing, they were doing really well. They had a lot of things in place to mitigate risk and lifting, the packing heights and those sorts of things. So in terms of overall injuries for the size of the workplace, that was really quite low. But what we were able to collect over, I guess, the pilot program or the program was 4,500 hours of data on our lovely workers. And from that, we got to see, once we turn on the haptic feedback, we got to see a 60% reduction in risky bends, which is, again, that kind of forward flexion past 60 degrees or that bending past 60 degrees. We saw a 31% drop in total bends as well, which I think is pretty substantial, and a 29% reduction in their bends with a twist. So while we were, using the haptic feedback to stop people moving into those risky bends, what it was actually also doing was making them think through understanding their own movement a lot better, and then rethinking, do I actually need to complete this task that way? Can I do it a safer way, in a way that will involve less bending, twisting, and squatting if required at all? So from a numbers point of view, that's where we ended. But there was, I think, the other great part that came out of it was that we run pre and post surveys within the programs, and the workers felt safer, they were more confident, they were more aware of how to move properly. We were getting feedback on site or through these I felt like I can start going to the gym again because I'm going home less tired because I'm moving properly. And less exhausted at the end of the day. And then others was kind of saying, hey, now we really understand why we were feeling sore at the end of the week or deconditioned at the end of the week because, we weren't moving quite as well as we should have been at the time. And I think more to that was some of the emotional feedback that we're also getting. People were thanking us on the floor, not just for the tech, but for being there consistently, working with them day in, day out. They'd done those programs, the one-off programs before, and had felt, they'd taken away a lot from those programs, but they didn't feel like they didn't get the ongoing, and that's what they really appreciated in terms of that. And then another great outcome is that while we're on site running the program, there were no lost time injuries during the pilot at all. So that's a really great outcome. It wasn't the goal necessarily, or the original goal. We really wanted to reduce that bending, twisting, squatting, but it was a really great outcome, I think, for the business and also the IntelliCoach program. So it really showing that there's that full shift on site realistically, rather than just following, what we were asking them to do, getting that reduction.
I think with these types of programs, engagement is so key. So for us to get such solid engagement, it's had such a positive flow-on effect to the rest of the program and the outcomes. So, I think that's definitely the best part of it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that a lot of companies struggle with when they're doing these trials, these technology trials, is actually user engagement and people responding positively and adopting. And I hear that you had really fantastic results regarding the pilot and engagement of that. So do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, from an engagement perspective, we had really good engagement. We had one person who pulled out throughout the pilot program. We had a couple of others that stopped wearing the belt after they came back from being away, for example, but then picked it back up. So from that perspective, that was probably some really great learnings for us throughout the program. But realistically, we had such great wear time that some people were even taking it home at night. That's how ingrained it was becoming as a part of their program and their day-to-day usage. And that's great. So that means it's a really comfortable product for them to wear. It means that they're just they're ingrained and ready to go with what's happening on site at the time. In terms of, and then the wear hours, as I kind of mentioned, in 8 weeks we got 4,500 hours worth of data. That's pretty significant across 40 staff that were in and out at the different times.
Yeah, that's amazing feedback, really. And then, like you were saying, they were so engaged then in the in the self-improvement, which is obviously part of your IntelliCoach, that that they felt positive about the whole engagement, which is not unusual for technology, but it's really good when you bring something new in and you haven't got to get over that barrier that they're positive about it. And so with such a successful pilot, I hear it's going on to phase two. So tell us a little bit about phase 2.
Yeah, so really fortunate enough to scaling the program with Mitolo Farms, which is great. And we're now going to be looking at covering it across all their sites, which is around 800 staff. I think I mentioned that before. So pretty big step up from the 40 that we were doing the program with to begin with. But I think it's something that we'll cover off and plan really well with the Modjoul team to make sure that we roll that out. And also as a part of that, we're integrating some different technology as well that comes along with the Modjoul belts around their Halo Guard systems, which is forklift safety, and moving that into part of our programming as well. And then expanding on the motion capture piece as well too. So really utilising that a lot more, and I guess we'll be able to empower the people on site to hopefully start to use some of that too, so that they get a better understanding at different times. And then further to that, which is really exciting, we're completing the program in a completely different industry as well, which is great. And that's working with backstage teams and set builders and wardrobe staff. So something way away from that kind of produce packing side and really kind of moving into that and completing it in the art side, which is super exciting.
That's great. So maybe, Renee, you could tell us a little bit more about your relationship with Dane. Dane's a partner of ours as well. And, we're really excited to work with him. So tell us a bit more about your relationship with Workplace Risk Technologies and Dane prior to Rod.
Yeah, so Dane's been an industry colleague and someone which Prudence has trusted in an advisory capacity for a long period of time. So probably dating back to 10 years in the infancy when Prudence started. So back when Dane was working with a large corporate that Prudence was privileged to support with their return to work program. And just through time, as we've sort of moved on with different ventures, the relationship has continued, and Dane's become more heavily invested in the technology side, and something Prudence has had an appetite for and explored at various stages over the last couple of years, but really just sort of cementing down where it fits within our organisation now. And that's kind of led to Rod joining and having an actual targeted focus with IntelliCoach and workplace risk technologies. So it's been a relationship which has grown over time, but certainly one which we've valued, and I'm sort of looking forward to seeing where it goes.
And it's really exciting in Australia. Well, it's exciting for us in the UK. Maybe for you it's just business as usual, but it's really exciting for us to see such a proactive program from the insurers that, are paying out quite a lot of money for workers' compensation. But, for them to proactively to start to look at, how we can reduce these injuries. And we could be saying, yes, it's about how we reduce the claims. There's that about, but obviously it's really about stopping injuring people. And we're not quite here in the we're not quite there in the UK. We haven't quite joined those dots up. So it's really exciting to see you leading the way on that and saying, look, how can we work together and bring solutions like the car industry has really. The car insurance side, have really started to look at tech to help them bring down claims or make or even offer people lower insurance premiums. You guys are kind of leading the way now moving forwards. Do you see a time where companies that use IntelliCoach on there, they can just tick it on their box and get an automatic discount?
Certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're happy to provide that, and I think it's a great opportunity to be on the forefront and allow people to take not only the employers but allow some of the workers as well to take a bit of responsibility back onto themselves and create those new learnings and go home to their kids safe at night. Be able to go home and pick up the grandkids, whatever it might be, that or go to the gym, as someone has said in their feedback earlier that we're talking about. So, if we can help people create a better life and enjoy their weekends more, why not?
I think it's fantastic to see innovation's been sort of somewhat stale in our industry, and I think the way that society's kind of evolved with technology, workplace risk is evolving at the same pace now. So we're at a really nice crossroads now where we can start to really apply some genuine application of technology within the workplace, and insurers are certainly to invest in that as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's such a great story, but we're really hoping that we can follow your lead, really, and join those dots
here. Come over and help out if you like.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. Yeah, that's what we would like to see in the UK. We would like to see our insurers taking the problem of injuring people rather than the problem of where's our highest risk, but the problem of actually injuring people and how do we solve that problem? Because that's how we work here at Safety Tech Accelerator. Our mission is, to keep people safe, and we just tag on the end of that with emerging technologies, and that's what our mission is, and we're all mission based here. And it would just be really great to tie that up and follow your lead, or kind of show our insurers how they could follow your lead and bring together a team that can do this. Because, EML may tell us the figures, mutual benefits may tell us the figures, but there's going to be some considerable savings for them to reinvest back.
Helen, just coming back to mission, it's interesting you touch on that, and it's not dissimilar to our mission, and that's really targeted towards helping people achieve their purpose. And it's something this technology piece has really enabled us to do, is to touch more people within an organisation that we previously wouldn't have been able to, and have an impact on both, obviously, their engagement and productivity within the workplace, but also getting them home safe to their families as well. So certainly been a journey or a carrier which has helped us achieve that.
Yeah, and that's so important, because I mean, this IntelliCoach program sounds great on its own, even better as part of this this case study, but even great on its own. And it's still quite in its infancy. I take it, Rod, it was different before you joined on how the Prudence approach was, and putting together this kind of whole solution base seems to have really made an impact.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think having great people around us, really helps on that. As I said, I've lent on Dane, known Renee for a long time, and the Prudence team. So having good people around to help build out these projects, mutual benefits, who are willing to take a risk and give a program like this a go is also great. So I think whilst, yes, it might be a new program, you need the people around to help build it out and then take it on and utilize it as well. And even Mitolo Farms, right? They've had nothing like this done previously, and yet they were willing to give it a go to try and help their workforce reduce some of their safety risks. And out the back of that, we've had a great outcome, and now we're extending that for them.
Great news. Anything from yourself, Renee, before we finish?
No, just thank you for the opportunity to chat with you today. And hopefully we can come get together in a few years' time and present the next level of success that we've been able to achieve with more organisations. So thank you.
Yeah, that would be great. So thanks to you both for doing this Insight series with us. It's such a great case study. So good to hear about what you're doing in Australia, and we hope to follow your lead here in the UK. So thanks again for your time.
Thanks
so much.